Hi everyone, I am doing the live tonight on lower limb proprioception, or otherwise known as joint position sense. So we'll just wait a few more minutes and then we will get started. But anyone who's joining, let me know how you're doing and if there's any particular exercises you'd like to go over as well. Just a few more moments and we'll get started. Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? Is everyone able to hear me okay? Just another minute or so and then people can join as we get going. Okay, brilliant. We will get started. So this is a follow-up live from Nat's one last week based on upper limb proprioception. So quite a few things will overlap. However, in terms of exercises and the way that we would test it as a therapist would be completely different, and obviously the areas in which of the body that we are using as well. So we'll just recap a little bit over what proprioception is and then a bit more in detail, and then we will go over quite a few exercises, explain how to do them, and then in the next few days more exercises we put up on our Instagram and also on our Facebook page. So proprioception has many different names and it has a lot of submodalities as well. So firstly, proprioception is otherwise known as kinesthesia. So this is your body's ability to sense a movement, action, and the location. It's present in every single muscle movement, literally every time we walk, every time we move our hand, every part of it will always link into proprioception. So 9 times out of 10, we don't even know that we're actually working it. So without proprioception, we wouldn't be able to do anything at all. We wouldn't be able to walk one leg in front of the other, wouldn't be able to squat, definitely would not be able to jump either. So it's very, very important that we do have a good proprioception, otherwise sometimes known as balance as well. It's simple in certain ways, so we can train it simply by closing our eyes and using other senses that we have. However, that one we normally tend to come to a bit later. So what we always kind of start with first is getting people to stand on one leg and seeing how good they can stand and how much balance and stability they have. Normally the main area that I would focus on at the moment would always be the ankle first, because if the ankle has no stability, no structure, and it's moving quite a bit left to right, then it's quite a big sign that they have quite poor proprioception and poor stability in their ankle. So then we'd focus on proprioception for the ankle first and then move up to the knee to hip, and then hip to the rest of the body. And we try to make it as fun as we can also. There's nothing worse than having a session that's very, very repetitive and boring. So once we get them standing on one leg, then we'll try to introduce a ball. So then we'll then work a little bit of upper limb proprioception as well. which I think works better for everyone, regardless of whether someone's an athlete or sporting as well. It just gets everyone going and having a bit more fun. So in terms of proprioception and its different modalities, there's a few different things. So we have joint sense of position. So our sense of a joint or the limb positioning is often measured through joint position sense, active joint position sense, and passive joint position sense. So active would be more moving around, passive is something that we will do for you and then we'll test against it. So normally this determines a person's perception of a certain movement and of the joint itself. So when we do something actively, we generally want the person to be able to reproduce it passively as well. And then we will measure that in terms of different areas, different angles in which they move, and then also in different landing types as well. Proprioception is also known as kinesthesia, which I stated earlier, and this is the awareness of motion of the human body, motion sense. So sense of movement refers to the ability to anticipate, and it also includes the duration, the direction in which you're moving, the amplitude, speed, and acceleration and timing of the movement. So in terms of acceleration, that is the time in which it takes to build up to that speed. So with driving, acceleration, deceleration, same sort of thing, it's the time in which it takes to do that. And then in terms of duration is how long you can hold it for in that position. So for us, standing in one leg is a very big idea of whether someone has a good balance or not. If someone generally cannot stand on one leg for more than 30 seconds, generally that would indicate that there is something going on. They have some form of either chronic ankle instability or they just have a very, very bad proprioception. And yes, some people will say, I can't stand on one leg for 30 seconds on a good day, and especially not after they've had a few drinks as well sometimes. But it's very, very easy and simple to build up. It doesn't take long, it's just quite repetitive and building on it. So we always start with just standing on one leg with nothing around, just a nice flat floor. Then we'll tend to put a little bit of an unstable surface underneath, so either a pillow or a towel. And then if you're able to in a gym or something, then most of us will have stock blocks. So they're like little panels of wood, and then they'll have like two little sides on it. So you can stand on there. It's a very thin panel. And then there's bosun balls, which is one of our favourite pieces of equipment in the gym to use. So normally that's like a half a Swiss ball, and then it's got like a landing, it's like pad on top. So you have it on two sides. So generally the side that is squishy, so the Swiss ball side, is actually easier to balance on than it is if you rotate it round, and then you've got the flat surface with the uneven surface underneath. So we always build up with that first. So I'd always start off with someone doing 30 seconds standing on one leg, switch to their stronger side, switch to their weaker side, go between the two, repeat it a few times, and then build up step by step. And then what I would then do in order to add a bit more acceleration, deceleration, and a bit more of a difference, I'd then get someone to then take a step into it. So then they're having to change the position they're starting in, and then they have to actually work on their balance straight away. So with a lot of people, we see it quite often. Even athletes, myself, sometimes I have some really bad days of balance, as you can probably see from our Instagram post. I had to talk myself into actually balancing very well because I had a very long day in the gym the day before, so my muscles were feeling it a little bit, so my balance was a little bit off. But everyone has a good and a bad day. There's no issues with that. Just as long as you keep focused on it, then it's fine. There's no problems. We also look at the sense of force. So sense of force is also known to the sense of effort, heaviness, tension, or the force matching the sense. So this will be referring to how much your muscles are having to work and your ligaments are having to work to keep that position for you. So it's really, really important that you are building this up when you are recovering from an injury. It's very, very important, especially when recovering from an ankle sprain or any lower limb injury, that you do really work on your proprioception and your balance, because unfortunately, if that is very, very poor, you will not be able to return to running. And obviously every sport and every day-to-day life with most people, if you go to the gym, you'll have to have some form of balance or proprioception. So we really focus on how much force you're putting in through to different areas. So in a clinic, normally what I would do is look at people's feet and then look at their whether they've got flat feet or whether they've got which is pes planus, and then whether they've got like an arch and high arch, which we call pes cavus, cavus cavus, sorry. So with that, we'll then look at how much force you're putting through to the different parts of your feet. So whenever we do proprioception and any sort of exercises with the lower limb, we would say use the tripod. So a tripod is your big toe, your little toe, and your heel, and we look at how much force you're kind of putting into each area. So when you're doing a clinical exam, normally we'll be able to see by how much hard skin you have got on that area, and whether the skin's got any form of irritation as well. So it's really, really important when you are focusing on landing and taking steps that you are evenly distributing the weight between the whole foot. It's not just going into one area, because if you have flat feet, what will happen then is your foot will roll in, and what that will do is then cause a valgus action at your knee, which then puts stress onto your medial ligaments and tendons, and then it will cause external rotation of the hip as well. Vice versa, if you have pes cavus feet, it will cause your feet to roll outwards, and then it will cause a varus action at your knee, so that will be pushing it out, stressing your lateral ligaments, which will then cause internal rotation of your hips. So all of this kind of builds up together. So for us, it's really, really important that the amount of force that you are putting through is the right amount, and it's not too much in one area, so then you are off balance. Because when we put someone onto a Bosun ball, this is our biggest indication of where all of their pressure kind of goes, because you'll see either they'll put their heel down first, they'll put their toe down first, or they'll be there and then they're like shaking, or they're pushing too much to the toes or too much towards their heels. So for us, it's a very big indication of how much pressure you are putting through somewhere, and then how much strain you're then going to put onto your tendons, ligaments, and muscles, which obviously your surrounding structures of each joint. So it's very, very important that they stay nice and strong and healthy, and they're not overworked, and they are having good recovery. We'd also look at a sense of change in velocity. So this is the ability to detect vibrations or any sort of changes in the surrounding area. So this normally travels through nerves, so through nerve fibers. So that will be A beta fibers, alpha beta fibers. So there are different routes in which different nerves take. So we have Golgi tendon organs, which are related to your tendons and muscles, and then you have your alpha beta fibers as well. So each one of them is different, and they'll follow different nerve routes and different paths, but they all join together in order to go through proprioception. So in terms of how we look at each one and how we kind of vary it, is there are different areas in which we will train proprioception. So you have fine motor skills. So these require coordinated movements of small muscles, so hands and your face. So examples would be like writing, undoing tops, undoing shirts, and like blowing bubbles for like children's little toys. And then you've got gross motor skills. So that is more larger muscle movements and larger groups of muscles as well. So that would normally be like your quadriceps and your hamstrings. And then for your upper limb, then it'd be your bicep brachii and your triceps as well. So that would normally include walking, running, and lifting activities. And then we have hand-eye skills as well. So that is the ability of the visual system to coordinate visual information. So this is obviously trying to throw and catch, and then any form of like sewing, and then computer tasks as well. So that will be more covered with what Nat went over last week in terms of how you can build up that proprioception. But what we're going to focus on is gross motor skills, because obviously we're focusing more on the lower limb, which is generally larger muscle group areas. So proprioception is crucial, and it's very, very important, especially if you are in sport or you are someone that really heavily goes to a gym. Having a poor sense of proprioception generally means that certain tasks you're not going to be able to do effectively. It can commonly also affect how you squat as well, and generally when squats are quite bad, it will cause other issues. So if your base of support, so your ankles and your feet, aren't in the right position, then the rest of your body's just going to have a knock-on effect. So it's really, really important that your body is able to position itself correctly, and it's stable, and it's like structured. So what we always say with everything is always focus on your feet. Like I said before, focus on tripod, have that 3-point contact on your feet at all times, and then slowly from there you can build up. So in terms of what we say with proprioception is it takes time. It's not something that's quick and easy to necessarily build straight away. But once it's done, and once it's done effectively, then day-to-day tasks will be a lot easier. So for some people, standing down, like reaching down to touch their toes on one leg, is very, very hard. And in the gym, we would train that as a RDL or a stiff leg RDL, either bilaterally or on one leg. So that's a very simple activity that you can do at a gym to build up the muscle strength and to build up the tendon strength. But however, if your balance is off in the first place, whether or not you're doing that effectively or not is a different story. And that's why we always say it's really important to build up that base and go through. So when I did my live on ankles and returning to playing injuries, I always start off with ankle range of movement, strength and conditioning. So just building up the calves and the perineals and the tibialis anterior, along with the quadriceps and the hamstrings as well. And then I will go straight into proprioception. So maybe in the first 5 days of an ankle injury, we'll get them working on their single leg balance, and then we'll also then do bilateral. So we'll work on squats, and then we will move on from there. So before we even get onto running and anything like that, we have to have a good proprioceptive base, because if not, your rehabilitation and your recovery from any injury can be restricted, and it can be prohibited. It's not going to be as effective as what you want it to be. So therefore, the reoccurrence, the likelihood of an injury happening whilst you are trying to recover, can be heightened. Yes, it's simple as just standing on one leg, but then it can also be made harder and under different stresses and working on different areas and different muscles, different tendons, different ligaments. So it's very good that you have to start from the base and then work your way up. So as I said, start with single leg stance, changing the different surfaces that you use, closing your eyes, taking out the sense, and then putting yourself onto other unstable exercises. Then getting yourself doing a little bit of movement, so taking a step or two, then going into the exercise, and then making it harder and more functional towards your sport or the activity that you like doing. So if you're a runner, then we'll just basically keep you on the bow symbol, get you doing high knees on the bow symbol, so then you've got an unstable surface that you're landing onto. So then if you are running and then you come across an unstable surface, or you come across a bit of mud, or you're going from a grass to a field, or from a grass to a track, or grass to a pavement, then you're able and you're prepared for any surface, because surfaces generally can be a big external problem, because we can't necessarily always change surfaces. We can't control the weather, we can't control whether it's going to be hot or cold either. So then what we have to do is prepare our body in all situations. So we work with more proprioception in unstable surfaces, because then your body's prepared, and then in hindsight your tendons and your ligaments in that certain situation should be stronger and more confident, and then they won't react, and unfortunately in severe cases they could potentially tear or sprain, or unfortunately rupture in terms of tendons. So we build this up to prevent that from happening, and to give your body a chance to be like, oh, okay, I don't like that, but I've been training kind of in that situation, so my body knows what to expect, it knows how to fix it, it knows how to correct it. So it's been proven that lower limb training for proprioception does actually decrease the risk of injury. So it's really, really important that we do focus on it. So in some studies that have been performed, specifically with basketball, which is one that I played myself, there was a 81% decrease in ankle sprains due to having a good, strong proprioceptive training base course. So it's literally just going through simple exercises, but it was done effectively. And obviously a decrease of 81% in ankle sprains in a sport that's very, very known for ankle sprains is really, really good and really like important. So we will have a little program that we kind of set up in terms of when you have a rehabilitation plan with us. Like I said, always starting very, very easy, then gradually building it up. So it could be very, very simple. You can, in order to take out different areas and different external environments, or different things to help you balance. Generally, whenever we do certain exercises, we'll have you do it with your hands on your hips. So therefore, you're not generally having your hands up and trying to move side to side, because sometimes that actually can put you off more than you actually expect. So if you have your hands on your hips, then you're fully relying on just that movement and just that area. So especially for the ankle, on any type of wobble board or bosun ball, you'll tend to see this movement. So it's okay to have a little bit of movement. That's fine. That's normal. If a surface is unstable, you're going to have some differences. But what we want you to do is focus on having that and then being more in control of the movement, so you're not going from left to right, you're not shaking, there's not much vibrations coming. So we always say it's always better to be cautious than overdo it. So I've had quite a few runners recently come in, and I've been testing their proprioception, and for majority of them it's been okay, but for quite a few of them their proprioception has been very, very poor. So we've had to build it up from the very beginning. Yes, they can stand on one leg, however some of them couldn't do that very well either, and so we just had to build it up from the very beginning. So in 6 weeks, we've got them now doing movements on bosun board. We've got them taking a step on, going into a high knee, then stepping back. Some of them I've got doing lunges on it. Others I've got doing one leg squats. So it takes time, and it will really, really benefit you, especially with your ankles, knees, hips, everything. Like if you just feel unstable walking down the street or walking up and down your stairs, then building your proprioception from the very, very beginning, so your balance, will really, really help you, and you'll find it so much more effective. Yes, there are other things that can also affect your proprioception, any neurological injuries, or issues, or any ongoing diseases, or anything medical can, yes, affect it. So in those instances, your proprioception will take a lot longer to build up. However, the same rules still apply. We'll still start from the very beginning and then build it up. So in terms of people who suffered from strokes, then it would be very, very repetitive that we do for them. So the more we repeat the exercise for them, the better it is. So for them, it will simply just be getting range of movement first, getting their fingers to extend and stuff like that, and then building up slowly, then teaching them how to write and stuff like that. So it's really, really important that with your ankles and with your feet, that learning how to walk effectively so you have balance and you're not putting the wrong foot in the wrong place is very important. So like I said, with the amount of force you put through, and especially with your feet, that is going to be one underlying thing that you will have to focus on and change first before your proprioception improves. So for me, I had very flat feet when I was a child, and then obviously as I've gone on through sports, I've started to notice a few more issues, and unfortunately I sustained a few injuries because of my placement of my feet. So I used to always land with my foot very, very flat. My foot would then tend to roll in, so then that would create a valgus action at my knee. So then my quadriceps were straining quite a lot, and then occasionally I would eventually roll my ankle, unfortunately. With those ones though, because I really worked on my proprioception and my balance, I was able to go back, continue to play, and I was fine. So if I didn't do any form of rehabilitation, or I didn't do anything working on my proprioception, then I wouldn't be doing the job that I'm doing today, because I wouldn't be able to stand properly on 2 feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload some more videos for you, and in the videos I'm going to be doing a little voiceover explaining how to do each exercise, and then also explaining little points and cues that we will look at, or point out to you, and also so then you can kind of rectify it at the same time. However, if you have got any like ankle instability, or any problem knee instability or hip instability, then we would advise you to come and see us, just so we can then give you a base of what's kind of going on and give you some pointers and tips and cues. But basically proprioception as a whole is more about the position in which your joint is perceived by your body. So it's really, really important that you are able to balance, you are able to do certain movements, and that you are comfortable and confident in yourself. Because if also you're not confident in what you're doing and you aren't aware and you are trying to learn new skills as well, it's really, really important that you have got a good baseline of proprioception there, because simple tasks is learning how to dribble a ball at the same time as running, so for basketball, or learning how to kick a football at the same time as running as well. It's a lot that you have to take in. So then with that, in terms of moving at the same time, you're then going to have more force, you're going to have more velocity. So then you have to really focus on your actual positioning of your body. So if your body's then like, oh, I don't like this, most times it will bring itself back in and it will relax. But unfortunately, for some people, it does then result in an injury. So it's really, really important that proprioception is built up before going any further in rehabilitation, especially with plyometrics and running. So generally, when we follow an order for recovery and through rehabilitation, we always start with range of movement. And then we go on to a little bit of strength conditioning just to build up the muscles around and make sure that there's no more muscle atrophy, or if there's muscle hypertrophy, make sure that there's no imbalance between the muscles either. Then proprioception, we then move on to more strength conditioning. Then we move on to plyometrics, then we move on to change of direction, and then we move on to running. And then from running to functional movement, depending on which sport or activity you want to get back into. So they're the guidelines that we follow, and that's what I swear by, because if you haven't got one, you can't move on to the next stage. So as long as you have proprioception and you keep building it up and progressing it through each level, then the likelihood of sustaining an injury then does decrease, because if your body is put into a certain situation where the joint is in a different place, then your body's perception of, okay, that shouldn't be there, let's bring it back, should then improve and help to reduce that injury. So if anyone has any questions or any other information that they'd like, just you could ask now, or you can always just drop us a message on the comments, or you can also send a message to us directly on our Facebook pages, and then we will send you in the right direction. Just look out for the next few days for a few more exercises that we will be putting up, and also check out our latest post on lower limb exercises as well. Okay, so if anyone's got any questions, the floor is open. Just drop me a message and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Okay, I don't think we're going to get any questions today then. So like we said, just leave a comment in the comment section and we'll be more than happy to help you back. And again, we'll have a live next week. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their evening and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you guys. Bye.